I'm Deputy Assistant Chief Jack Mooney, Chief of the Fire Academy for the New York City Fire Department. I've been in this position for the past 4.5 years. And I'm in charge of or responsible for getting all training for firefighters, brand new firefighters and current firefighters. When I came on, which was in 1978, the fires back then were very different than they are today, residential fires. I'm only learning in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm learning why they were so different. I never realized that they actually changed. But back then, the contents of houses, dwellings, was primarily natural fiber-based products. Your couches, your chairs, they would be, if it was a cushion chair, it would probably have a spring cushion, metal spring cushion, covered by some kind of cotton batting cushioning, and then covered with either cotton or wool as your outer covering. Today, everything inside our homes now is hydrocarbon-based products. Very rarely do you have the metal springs. It's all that polyurethane foam cushioning, covered with polyurethane foam batting, covered with nylon coverings, nylon carpets, nylon products on our walls. The clothes we wear, it's all hydrocarbon-based products. Why that is so important for us to realize is that hydrocarbon-based products burn differently than natural fiber-based products. It didn't make the fire area change overnight, but by the late 90s, I believe it was there. And these severe fires that we were having every once in a while, the fire department could not come up with a solid answer of why these severe fires were occurring. The issue that our department was faced with was the tactics that we brought to the fire ground with each fire incident were developed in the early 70s. The city was very busy in terms of fire duty. Back then we were doing 4 times the structural fires that we're doing today. And it's just the need to put us all on the same operational page was quite apparent. And they did. And when they did that, they based it on the fires that they were having, which was natural fiber-based products. They burned slower than today's contents. They put out far less smoke than today's contents. You also have to think back then what a firefighter looked like. They don't look like the firefighters of today in terms of gear. They wore rubber boots that you could wear folded down or pull them up above your thigh. They had long fire coats. Rarely did you see a mask, an self-contained breathing apparatus on their backs. So no hoods, sometimes no gloves. So literally our firefighters were advancing into fire areas in a structure as far as they could breathe, hold their breath or breathe the air off the floor, or as close to the heat that they could physically take because they had a lot of exposed skin. As we rolled into the 80s, some of the firefighters who were dying, New York City firefighters, were dying from their burn injuries and at an increasing rate. We were beginning to be better protected in terms of gear with the gloves and the better coats as they evolved. So now, looking back, what we did was we put better masks on our firefighters so that they could breathe. And what we did, we're an aggressive group of people in that we are not afraid to go into a fire building. So now I can breathe. The lack of air isn't stopping me. Now the heat would be stopping me. Now we get bunker gear. All my skin is covered just about. Still didn't get the hood yet, but most of it is. I can go even deeper. And as we advanced through the late 90s into the 2000s, that rate of severe burns and deaths to our firefighters never stopped climbing. Even though our fire incidents were dropping, the severe burns to death, so to speak, was climbing. That's what started us to start to look at this stuff. I first met these people in 2008 because we had partnered with them and Polytech to do some live fire burns on Governor's Island and a vacant building over there to find out about wind-driven fires and fireproof multiple dwellings. And I specifically remember Dan Majikowski saying to me, now I had 30 years on the fire department, he said, you have to realize that fire is a pressure phenomenon. And I thought to myself, what is he talking about? I had no idea what that meant. I had a huge learning curve to go through, not realizing it. I thought 30 years of in a pretty busy city, and I was usually in pretty busy areas, I thought I really had a handle on what fire dynamics were. I did not. So today what we did, with all the studies that we did on Governor's Island with Polytech and NIST, what we've learned about this fire dynamic and how the coordination of ventilation is so critical with confining the fire area and putting water on the fire. Now the challenge is to teach the entire department because, again, they're all senior firefighters that were taught the other way for good reasons. But we've learned more now, and we need to teach an old dog new tricks. It's critical. It's their lives that they're putting in harm's way to do this job, and they need to have the best knowledge about how to do it.